The Bible has a lot to say about the name of God and how critical it is. For example, Psalm chapter 8, verse 1 says, "O Lord, how majestic is your name." Psalm 29, verse 2, "Ascribe to God the glory due his name." Psalm 86, verse 11, "Fear God's name." Psalm 111, verse 9, "Awesome is his name." Proverbs 18, verse 10, "The name of the Lord is a strong tower." Over and over and over and over again, we hear about the glory of God's name. But God has a whole plethora of names that describe him throughout the Bible, because God's names are designed to give us clues into his nature. They are just not nomenclature for you to pronounce a word. It is to give you clues about who he is. God's name is so special, so unique, his name is to be hallowed. In fact, we were taught to pray that way. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. The word hallow means set apart, unique, or sacred. It's like the word holy. In fact, they're born out of the same root family. To be sacred. It means that you're holding it in a unique position. God's name wants to be held in the unique position that it ought to occupy in our lives and in our world. You know, in Genesis chapter 11, the first 9 verses describes the erection of the Tower of Babel. Here men wanted to build their own civilization and their own religious order independently of God. And in chapter 11, verse 4, God says that mankind has come together in disobedience to his command, and he says the reason they came together is to build a name for themselves. See, they wanted the name, they just didn't want his name. And they were even going to build a religious order, we call it a ziggurat, right in the middle of civilization that would reach up to the heavens. Man making his way to God, but doing it using their own name. It's like a wife who says, "I don't want to wear your name anymore. I don't want the association. I want my own name or my own name back." Well, that's what mankind does when they have religion but want to exclude God. When they say in God we trust, but don't trust that God. When they say God bless America, but America doesn't want to bless God. We want the nomenclature without the person, and we want our own name. Now we all know what forgery is. Forgery is the unauthorized use of your name. It's somebody taking your name who's not been given permission to use it and using it for illegitimate reasons. You know, that's why we trademark names. We trademark names so that we hold on to its identity, its definition, and its character. Well, God's names are trademarked, but we have a world today that's forging it. They will use his name without it relating to his person. But when you come to understand and appreciate the names of God, you will come to understand that his name is powerful. His name is tremendous, because his name and names are transforming. The first name we want to look at in looking at the names of God is his introductory name. This is the name where we first read about him in the Bible, in the first verse of the Bible. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. It says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The Hebrew word for God in Genesis 1:1 is the word Elohim. Elohim. That's a rich word, because even in that one verse, we're given an education on the names of God. First of all, we learned that Elohim is transcendent. Transcendent means to be distinct. He is distinct from his creation. You know, there are a lot of views about God that amalgamate him with the creation. But he's distinct from the creation because he existed before the creation. It says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and earth. Well, if he created the heavens and earth, then he existed outside of the heavens and earth in order to be the creator of the heavens and earth. That he is responsible for time, because it says in the beginning. So if he created and his creation brought about the beginning, then he sits outside of the beginning, and since the beginning equals time, he sits out of time, which means he exists in eternity. So we learn from this first verse that our great God exists outside of time, but he also exists outside of space and matter. We know that because he created space and matter, because he created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning, God. But we find out something else in this chapter about God, Elohim, and that is he has personhood. He's a person. We know he's a person because he's talking. Let there be light. Let's separate the land from the water. He's talking. He's creating things. He's thinking in order to speak cognitively. Thought precedes words. So he's thinking. He's also acting. And let me tell you something else he's doing throughout this first chapter of creation. He's feeling, because he said, that's good. That's good. In fact, he gets so excited, he closes it down with, that's real good. It's very good. So this creator Elohim, this creator God, exists outside of time and space, but yet he interacts with time and space. In fact, we're told in Jeremiah 23, verse 24, that he fills the heavens and the earth. So he not only made it, he occupies it. In the same way that air occupies this room and air occupies our planet, we discover that God occupies the heavens and earth. So there's nowhere to run and nowhere to hide, because he sits outside of it while being a full occupant within it. But that's how awesome God is. We find out about this God that his creation, theologians call it ex nihilo, or as Hebrews 11 verse 3 says, that he created the things that are seen out of things that are not visible. In other words, he created something out of nothing. That's ex nihilo. Now, you can't do that. Science can't do that. I love Job chapter 12, verses 7 to 9, because God says, why don't you let man investigate the animals and investigate nature and discover the handiwork of God? So God even invites science to check him out. If you don't believe I can do what I do the way I do it, check me out, and you will see how awesome I am. You know, evolution believes that nobody with nothing created everything. You can't buy that line, it'll make a monkey out of you. No, our great God has created time and space and matter. The galaxies, Andromeda, which is 2.5 million light years away. It would take 4,400,000 years in Earth years to send a message to it and receive a message back from it in light year speed. And yet God created it by speaking it into existence. That's how great Elohim is. The word Elohim is plural, by the way. We call it a majestic plural. It comes from El. El means strong one. It's a majestic plural because God exists in plurality. We don't have the details in Genesis 1, but we get the hint That is, God exists in plurality. Even when he makes man, he said, let us make man. And then he says, and he made man in his own image. So he speaks in plurality and yet operates in singularity. How can you exist in plurality, operate in singularity, all at the same time? Well, it's sort of like a pretzel. You got a pretzel with 3 holes. First hole is not the second hole is not the third hole. All 3 holes are distinct, but they all tied together by the same dough. The Father's not the Son is not the Spirit, but they all have the dough of divine nature. They all have the dough of deity at work in their lives. And so you and I get to discover this great God. We discover this great God in his creative genius when he is crafting creation in such a way that he even restores things that are messed up. It says in verse 2, the earth was without form and void. Darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim was moving over the surface of the water. Then God said, let there be light. And of course, there was light. Here we have God bringing order out of a chaos situation. Without form and void is a Hebrew word, tohu wabohu. Tohu wabohu basically means a garbage dump, a swamp. That's why he has to separate the land from the water, because it's all mixed together. But God has to bring order out of chaos. See, that's why you need to know the word Elohim, because life can get chaotic. Life can get messed up. Life can get confusing. But when you know the name Elohim, he can take nothing and make something. He can take madness and mess and create a miracle. Now, if he can do it in a universe, then can he do it in the universe of our lives? Because his name is Elohim, and he is good. Because every time he does something, he recognizes how good it was. He says, it's good, it's good, it's good. And then ultimately, he creates man. And when he creates man in his own image, it is the hallmark of his creation. You and I are the hallmark of his creation because you and I have been created in the image of God. That means we've been designed to mirror him. We can't mirror him as though we were him, but we can mirror him as reflections of him.